The stars in the dead zone looked strange, as if they were watching, cold and silent. The human exploration ship Horizon Star floated through the emptiness, her crew moving quietly. Each person knew this place had a bad name. Old stories spoke of ships that entered this sector and never came back. Some said it was the storms of drifting radiation. Some whispered about invisible hunters that took their prey without warning. Inside the command deck, the captain stood with arms crossed, eyes fixed on the wide display. "Keep all scanners on full," he said. His voice calm but heavy. The crew nodded, not daring to break the stillness. The hum of the ship's systems felt too loud in this quiet void. Hours passed. Nothing moved. The stars stayed still. Then, without a warning, a sharp signal cut through the comms, a sound like metal tearing. "Contact!" shouted the sensor officer. Lights flashed red across the deck. Before anyone could ask what it was, the front view screen lit up with the shape of ships emerging from the darkness. They were fast, black, and covered in strange glowing lines. Alien raider ships moving like predators. They didn't hail, didn't talk. They opened fire instantly. Blue beams sliced across Horizon Star's shields, shaking the entire vessel. The crew staggered. Alarms screamed. "Shields at 40%, cried the defense officer. The captain gritted his teeth. Return fire. The human weapons spat energy back at the attackers, but it was like throwing stones at a storm. The alien shields absorbed the hits without a mark. In return, their firepower ripped into Horizon Star's hull, metal groaning as sections of the ship went dark. "Engineering, report." The captain barked. The voice from below came shaky. "Engines are hit. We've lost main thrusters." The alien ships circled closer, like sharks around a wounded whale. One fired a concentrated blast that smashed through the outer hull. The crew heard the hollow thump of decompression doors sealing. Somewhere deep in the ship, someone screamed before the sound was cut off. Then came the message. A rough, laughing voice in alien tongue. Translated instantly by the computer, "Humans," it sneered. "You don't belong in real space. Crawl back to your dirt world and stay there." The raider leader chuckled, a sound cold and mocking. The captain stood tall, even as smoke curled. Around the deck, "This is Captain of the Horizon Star. We will not run," he said. But the raiders had already turned away. Their job, it seemed, was not to destroy completely, but to cripple and humiliate. With one last beam, they shattered the long-range comms array. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they were gone, leaving the human ship bleeding in the dark. The silence after the attack was worse than the noise. The crew looked at each other, faces pale. "We're dead out here," someone whispered. The captain heard it, but said nothing. He moved to the center of the deck, looking at each of them. "We are not dead," he said slowly. "Not yet." In the engineering bay, sparks rained from half-broken panels. Engineers worked with trembling hands. Every system seemed damaged. Engines, weapons, shields, even life support was running on backup cells. A young technician found something odd wedged into the wreckage of the port hull. It was a broken piece of alien metal, smooth and sharp, glowing faintly with an energy they didn't understand. When they brought it to the captain, his eyes narrowed. He turned it over in his hands. "Feeling the weight, they hit us with this." The tech said, "It's part of their ship." Another engineer leaned closer. "If we can study it, maybe we can use it." The idea felt dangerous, desperate, but in the dead zone. There were no safe ideas. The captain set the alien fragment down on the table. "We are not going home in this state," he said. "But if they think they left us weak, they're wrong." His voice was steady now. It's carrying something more than just survival. It carried the seed of revenge. The crew gathered, drawn by that tone. They were tired, hurt, and scared. But when the captain spoke, they listened. "They think they broke us," he said. They think we'll die here." His hand rested on the alien metal. "We'll show them what humans do when they're pushed." No one spoke for a moment. The hum of failing systems filled the air. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. Eyes lit not with fear, but with a slow, dangerous fire. Outside the horizon star, the dead zone remained silent. The stars kept their cold watch, somewhere far away. The raider fleet laughed at their victory, unaware that deep inside the broken human ship, a new plan had just been born. The horizon star floated in the black, her wounds open and bleeding air into space. The crew worked without rest, patching what they could, sealing the worst damage. But the truth was simple. They had no engines. To move, no long range comes to call for help, and no weapons strong enough to defend themselves. If the raiders came back, it would be the end. In the mess hall, the crew sat in silence, eating what little they had left. The ration packs were almost gone. Water supplies were down to days. Some whispered about trying to send out escape pods. But the dead zone storms would tear them apart before they ever reached safe space. The captain listened to their fears, but stayed quiet until everyone's eyes were on him. "We are not waiting here to die," he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes were sharp. "We have something now that we didn't have before." He placed the alien metal fragment on the table for all to see. It glowed faintly, pulsing. Like a living thing, the engineers leaned forward, curious and cautious. Chief Engineer Ral spoke first. "It's not just metal, Captain. It's an energy conductor. Stronger than anything we've built on Earth. This could power weapons far beyond our design." Another tech nodded. "It's dangerous, though unstable. But if we could control it..." Her voice trailed off. The captain finished her thought. "Then we can fight back." A murmur ran through the room. Half the crew thought it was madness. The other half began to imagine what that could mean. In the end, survival left no room for fear. The captain gave the order they would salvage everything they could from the battlefield. It was risky. The dead zone was known for strange storms of charged particles that could rip through unshielded suits. There was no other choice. The crew suited up, locking helmets into place. Teams of 2 moved out through the airlocks, drifting into the silent black. The wreckage of the raider ships floated nearby, still glowing from battle damage. The alien metal was sharp and jagged, edges humming with strange energy. The salvage teams moved slowly, cutting sections free and hauling them back to the cargo bay. One piece was the size of a fighter wing. Another was a shattered weapon mount still sparking each time they brought something in. The engineers swarmed over it, scanning, testing, learning. They found power cores that could run for decades, armor plates that were light as air but could take direct hits, and strange crystal nodes that seemed to store energy like water in a jar. One tech, working with gloves thicker than his arm, managed to open a damaged alien console the moment it powered up. Symbols danced across the small screen alien code. The ship's translator struggled, producing fragments of words, shields, warp, overload. It was like opening the first page of a book no human had ever read. The work was not without danger. On the third salvage run, a storm rolled in without warning. It was invisible at first, just a faint vibration in the suit's com. Then the black around them lit with streaks of blue, charged particles racing like lightning. One salvage team barely made it back inside before their suits overloaded. The captain ordered everyone in, but not before they had gathered enough alien scrap to fill the cargo bay inside the ship. The engineers began the real work. It was slow, and it was dangerous. Power surges from alien cores fried human tools. Strange radiation made sensors go blind, and twice they had to vent part of the bay when an unstable fragment began to overheat. But each problem taught them something new. Weeks passed like this. The crew was thinner. Their faces more hollow, but their eyes burned with purpose. The mess hall talk shifted from fear to ideas, from waiting to acting. If we can integrate their shields, we'll survive the next fight. One said, "Forget shields, I want their engines." Another replied, laughter breaking out across the table. One night, the captain stood on the deck, looking at the stars of the dead zone. His second-in-command joined him. "We're building more than repairs," she said quietly. "We're building a new kind of ship." The captain nodded. "No," he said, "we're building a new kind of fleet the next day." He made the announcement to the crew. "We will not leave here with just the Horizon Star. We will call every stranded human ship in range. We will give them this technology, and together we will rise." His words were met with cheers. The sound rolled through the corridors, chasing away the silence that had lingered since the attack. In the cargo bay, the alien parts lay in neat rows. Each one was a piece of the enemy, and soon each one would become a weapon. The humans had been broken once, but here, in the heart of the dead zone, they had found the tools to become something far more dangerous than the raiders had ever imagined. And as the first hybrid systems powered on, humming with alien light, the crew understood they were no longer just repairing a ship. They were building the beginning of something that would change the galaxy. The cargo bay of the Horizon Star had turned into something no human ship had ever seen. Tables and workbenches were covered in both human tools and alien devices. The smell of burned metal mixed with the sharp, strange scent of alien alloys. Engineers worked in shifts around the clock, hands blackened with grease, faces lit by the glow of half-alive alien parts. At the center of it all stood the captain, watching as chief engineer Ral and his team fitted a section of alien shielding to the ship's hull. The shield plates looked almost alive, a soft pulse of blue light moving under the surface like a heartbeat. When connected to human power lines, they shuddered, flickering for a moment before settling into a steady glow. "We've got partial integration," Ral said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It'll hold against small arms fire, maybe more, but we need to test it." The captain nodded. "Do it." The crew gathered in the main control room for the test. Outside, a small drone floated, loaded with old mining charges on the captain's signal. The drone fired at the Horizon Star. The alien shields flared to life, absorbing the blast like it was nothing. Gasps and cheers filled the room for the first time since the attack. The crew felt the rush of hope, but shields were only the start. The engineers turned next to weapons. They had salvaged a half-melted alien plasma cannon from the wreckage. It was bigger than anything in the human arsenal, powered by a crystal core that seemed to hum when touched. The problem was connecting it to the ship's systems without blowing the whole deck apart. 2 failed attempts ended in power overloads that knocked out the lights for hours. On the third try, Ral and his team worked in silence, moving like surgeons. When they finally powered the weapon, a low thrum filled the air. The display showed energy levels rising far beyond human limits. They aimed it at a chunk of asteroid outside the ship. The captain gave the order, and the cannon fired. The beam tore through the rock in a single instant. Leaving nothing but drifting dust, the room erupted into shouts and applause. Even the most doubtful crew members began to believe they might have a chance. The days that followed were filled with more upgrades. Human engines were replaced with alien drive cores, allowing the Horizon Star to move faster than she had ever been designed to. Navigation systems were rebuilt with alien sensors that could see through cloaking fields. Even the life support was improved using alien filtration systems, making the air cleaner and fresher than before. But the biggest change wasn't in the ship's metal, it was in the crew. The attack had left them shaken, broken, and angry. Now they moved with purpose. Laughing while they worked, helping each other without being asked, they were no longer just survivors. They were builders of something new, one night. As the crew ate in the mess hall, The captain stood and tapped his cup. The room fell silent. "What we have done here is impossible," he said. "We took the weapons of those who tried to destroy us, and we made them ours. This ship is no longer the Horizon Star you knew. She is stronger, faster, and deadlier than any human vessel." In history, the crew banged their fists on the tables in agreement. Someone shouted, "Let's take the fight to them." And the room exploded with cheers. The captain let the noise rise, then raised his hand for quiet. "We will, but not yet," he said. "One ship, no matter how strong, is still just one ship. We need more. We will call the others within." Hours encrypted messages were sent out into the dead zone, coded so only human ships could read them. The call was simple: "We can make you stronger. Come to these coordinates." It took days, but the first reply came from a battered cargo hauler, limping through the storms. Then came a medical transport, then a patrol ship, barely holding together, one by one. The survivors of other battles arrived. Each ship carried its own scars, its own crew with the same hollow, angry look in their eyes when they saw the Horizon Star with her glowing alien shields and new engines. They understood the humans were no longer just running from the raiders. They were preparing for something much bigger. In the days that followed, the cargo bay became a construction yard. Alien scrap was spread out in rows, tools passed from hand to hand. Crews from different ships worked side by side, trading skills, swapping stories. Every weld, every bolt brought them closer to a shared goal. By the end of the month, the first human-alien hybrid fleet began to take shape. The Horizon Star was no longer alone. Around her floated 5 other ships, each rebuilt with alien shields, alien weapons, and engines that could outrun almost anything in known space. The captain stood at the main viewport, looking out at them. His second-in-command man stepped beside him. "We're ready," she said. He nodded slowly. "No," he replied. "We're just getting started." The dead zone was no longer silent for the first time in years. Human voices and human engines filled its darkness. The Horizon Star was surrounded by ships that had once been drifting wrecks. Now, each one carried the glow of alien shields and the hum of alien engines. But the captain knew it wasn't enough. If they were going to survive, if they were going to win, they needed more ships, more people, and more courage. The call went out again. The captain sent the same encrypted message across the hidden channels of human space. "We can make you stronger. Come to us." It was a dangerous message, because if the wrong ears heard it, the raiders would come first. But the risk had to be taken. Days passed with no answer. Then, one morning, the long-range sensors picked up a faint signal. It was weak, almost lost in the noise of the dead zone storms. "It's a human distress code," the comm officer said. The captain ordered them to lock on. They followed the signal to a region of drifting asteroid fields. There, hidden between the rocks, was a ship so battered it barely held together. Its hull was scorched black. Whole sections opened to space through the broken windows. They could see movement, survivors still clinging to life. The Horizon Star moved alongside, docking carefully. The boarding team stepped inside. Weapons ready. Inside was worse than they expected. The corridors were cold, the air thin. The survivors were pale and weak. Some were too injured to walk. Others gripped makeshift weapons, unsure if the humans who had come were friends or raiders. The captain spoke first. "We're not here to take," he said. "We're here to give." Slowly, the survivors lowered their weapons. One of them, a woman with a torn flight suit, stepped forward. "What could you give us?" she asked. The captain answered by pointing back through the docking hatch, where the glowing alien shields of the Horizon Star shimmered in the days that followed. The survivors watched in disbelief as their broken ship was stripped, repaired, and rebuilt. Alien plating replaced their shredded armor. New weapons hummed where rusted cannons had been. When the work was done, their captain stood on his deck, running a hand over the smooth alien alloy. "We owe you," he said quietly. To the Horizon Star's captain. The reply was simple: "Then fight with us." More ships came, each with its own story of loss. A patrol corvette that had been hunted for weeks. A science vessel abandoned by its escort. A freighter that had played dead to escape destruction. Some crews came willingly. Others were wary. But when they saw what the humans in the dead zone were building, their doubts began to fade. The dead zone became something it had never been. A refuge. It was still dangerous. Storms still tore through space. But now there was a purpose here. Each arriving ship brought not just parts and people, but skills. A freighter crew knew how to move cargo faster than anyone. A science crew knew how to decode alien systems. And a patrol crew knew every trick in space combat. The cargo bays of all ships became shared workshops. Teams mixed without thinking about which ship they belonged to. Meals were eaten in crowded mess halls where laughter slowly replaced silence. For the first time, scattered survivors from across human space began to feel like a fleet. But with every new arrival, the captain knew the risk was growing. The more ships they had, the harder it was to hide. The raiders would hear of this sooner or later, and when they did, they wouldn't send a small hunting party. They would send everything. One evening, as the crews were eating, the captain stood at the center of the largest mess hall. His voice carried over the noise. "Look around you," he said. We're strangers when we came here. Every one of us was left for dead by the same enemy. But now, we are more than survivors. We are builders, we are fighters, and when they come for us, we will not run." The room roared with cheers. The sound echoed down the corridors, reaching the engineers still working in the cargo bays, reaching the guards at the airlocks. Even those too tired to cheer lifted their heads with pride. The next morning, the Horizon Star led training drills in open space. Dozens of ships moved in formation, their new engines pushing them faster than before. Crews practiced coordinated strikes, targeting drones that mimicked raider patterns. Every maneuver made them sharper. Every test made them faster. By the end of the week, they could move as one. The fleet was no longer a scattered group of survivors. It was becoming a single weapon. Now deep inside, each person knew that when the day came, they would be ready, in the stillness after the last drill. The captain looked out from the bridge at the gathered ships. The alien glow of their shields lit the black around them. For the first time since entering the dead zone, he allowed himself a small smile. They had come here broken. The dead zone was no longer the silent grave it used to be. Instead of drifting wrecks and ghost signals, there was movement. Human engines thrummed in the distance. Voices crackled over encrypted channels, but the Horizon Star's captain knew this was just the beginning. If they wanted to turn survival into victory, they needed more ships, more crews, and more determination. He sent the call again, short and clear. Hidden in code only human ships could read. "We can make you stronger. Come to us." It was a dangerous gamble, because if the wrong ears caught it, the raiders would arrive before any allies. But the captain understood. Safety was already an illusion. For a time, there was nothing. Just the endless hum of the ship and the storms flickering in the dark. Then one faint signal came through, weak enough to almost be lost in the static. "Human distress code," the COM officer said. The captain didn't hesitate. "Lock on and follow it." The trail led them to a maze of asteroid fields. Giant rocks tumbling in slow, deadly patterns. Hidden deep within was a ship that looked more like debris than a vessel. Its hull was scorched, its engines dead. One side was open to space. Inside, the survivors had barricaded themselves in the few sealed compartments left. The docking was careful, the boarding team stepping through the airlock with weapons ready. The corridors inside were silent except for the hiss of leaking air. People emerged slowly from behind sealed doors, gaunt faces, tired eyes, hands. Clutching makeshift weapons, the captain spoke first, his voice low but firm. "We're here to help." At first, no one moved. Then a young mechanic stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "Help." She asked, "What could you possibly give us?" The captain only turned and gestured back toward the horizon star, where the alien shields shimmered like living light across her hull. In the days that followed, the battered ship was pulled into the heart of the dead zone. Engineers from both crews worked side by side. Alien plating replaced twisted metal, new cannons hummed to life. Even the smallest parts, upgraded filters, reinforced supports brought the survivors back from the edge. When the work was finished, the other ship's captain stood on his rebuilt deck, running a hand over the smooth alien alloy. His voice was quiet but certain. "We're with you." And the Horizon Star's captain answered simply, "Then fight with us." More came after that. A freighter that had played dead to slip past a raider blockade. Its crew, thin but fierce, a research vessel whose scientists had watched their escort be destroyed and drifted for weeks before daring to move. A military corvette that had fought until its guns burned out. Each new arrival brought its own scars, its own story. Some came willing, others cautious. But when they saw what the Horizon Star had become, when they touched the alien-forged armor and heard the low thrum of weapons no human had built, something changed in their eyes. Fear shifted to determination. The dead zone became a forge. Cargo bays turned into workshops. Scraps of alien tech were spread out on long tables. Human and alien tools sat side by side. Crews mixed without care for which ship they came from, passing parts, trading skills, fixing problems together. Meals were loud now, not silent. The mess halls echoed with laughter. People swapped survival stories, teaching one another the tricks that had kept them alive. And though no one said it out loud, there was a growing sense that they were becoming something more than a collection of ships. They were becoming a fleet. But the captain knew the risk was rising. The more ships gathered here, the harder it would be to stay hidden. The raiders would hear whispers, and when they did, they would not send a small strike force. They would come with everything they had. One evening, the captain stood in the largest mess hall. His voice carried easily over the tables. "Look around you," he said. "Every one of us was left for dead by the same enemy. We were scattered, broken, left adrift. But now, here we are. We are not just survivors anymore, we are builders. And when they come for us, we will not run." The response was instant. Cheers. Fists on tables, voices raised together. It rolled through the ship. Through the connected corridors of docked vessels, even those too tired to cheer smiled as the sound reached them. The very next morning, the Horizon Star led the first full fleet drill. Ships that had never fought together moved in perfect lines. Their new engines pushed them faster than ever. Target drones were destroyed in synchronized bursts of fire. Crews learned to shield one another, to strike as one, by the end of the day. The transformation was clear. They were no longer a cluster of stragglers hiding in a dead sector. They were the beginning of a fighting force that could challenge the raiders. And as the captain stood on the bridge, watching the alien glow of their shields light the dark, he allowed himself a rare thought. They had come to the dead zone broken. But here, in the place everyone feared, they had found strength, and they were ready to use it. The dead zone was alive with movement. The human fleet, once broken wrecks, now shimmered with alien shields and glowed with the hum of rebuilt engines. Every day, drills sharpened their aim. Every night, engineers worked under the cold light of stars, but somewhere out there, beyond the drifting storms, the raiders had begun to hear whispers, and whispers had a way of becoming calls to war. It started with a faint blip on the sensors. One of the outer patrol ships, the Vigilant, picked it up first. A single contact moving fast, too fast for a scavenger or merchant. Within minutes, more appeared. Dots multiplying across the display. "They're here," the comm officer said quietly. The bridge went still. The captain's voice broke the silence. "Sound fleet alert. All ships to battle stations." The raiders came in like a tide of black steel. Their hulls streaked with glowing lines, weapons already charging. But this time, the humans were not prey. The Horizon Stars surged forward, her alien shields flaring to full strength. The rest of the fleet moved into a wide formation. Engines burning blue, weapons primed. The first exchange lit the dark. The raiders fired in a coordinated volley, beams cutting through space toward the human line. The shields held, shimmering. Like ripples in water, the human fleet answered, and the alien-forged cannons roared to life. Plasma beams and railgun slugs tore into the raiders' lead ships, ripping holes where alien armor should have been impenetrable. On the Horizon Star's deck, the crew moved like one body. Every command from the captain was met with instant action. Shift power to the port side. Lock onto their engines. Fire. The sound of each shot was felt through the deck, heavy and satisfying. The raiders were fast, darting in and out of range, but the human fleet had trained for this. Smaller ships darted between the larger ones, covering blind spots, forcing the enemy into kill zones. Every time a raider tried to flank, two human ships cut it off and hammered it into drifting debris. In the middle of the battle, one raider broke through the line, racing straight toward a medical ship. Its guns lit up, ready to tear the vessel apart. But the Vigilance spun on her axis, her alien thrusters pushing far beyond human limits. She slammed a burst of fire into the raider's side, tearing it open before it could fire. The medical ship's crew watched in stunned silence as the enemy spun away, venting fire and smoke. The comm channels were alive with voices. "Enemy squadron. Down. We've got 2 more incoming on the starboard flank. Shields holding at 70%. It was chaos, but it was a controlled chaos, the kind that came from preparation and unity. One by one, the raiders began to realize something had changed. These weren't the scattered, desperate humans they were used to hunting. These were fighters with their own alien technology, and it was turning the battle against them. A massive raider cruiser pushed forward, its cannons burning with power. The captain of the Horizon Star fixed his eyes on it. "Target their weapons," he ordered. The forward plasma cannon charged, alien crystal cores glowing brighter and brighter until the light filled the bridge. When it fired, the beam struck the cruiser's port side, punching straight through its shields. The explosion tore half the ship apart, sending the rest drifting into the void. The remaining raiders faltered. Some tried to retreat, engines flaring hard. Others pushed forward out of sheer pride. But the humans had no intention of letting them slip away without a message. "Press the attack," the captain said. His voice was calm, almost cold. Minutes later, the black around them was littered with wreckage. The last surviving raider ships finally broke off and ran. Streaking back into the storms, the captain didn't order pursuit. Not yet. The battle was won, but the real war was still ahead. Silence settled over the fleet, broken only by the hum of damaged systems being patched and the steady voices of repair crews on the bridge. The captain stood with his hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the drifting remains of the raider fleet. "They will come again," his second-in-command said quietly. The captain nodded. "And next time, they'll bring more." He turned to the comm officer. "Send this message to every human ship still out there," he said. "Tell them the raiders can be beaten. Tell them to come to the dead zone, and we will arm them." The comm officer smiled faintly as she began to send the signal. Far away, in the darkness, the fleeing raider crews would tell their leaders what they had faced. They would speak of human ships that fought like predators, of weapons that should have been impossible, and they would whisper a new warning into the galaxy. The humans had learned how to turn broken pieces into power, and now they had a fleet. The dead zone storms parted like curtains, revealing the dark stretch of space beyond. The human superfleet floated in perfect formation. Every ship armed, shielded, and ready for weeks. Scouts had been watching raider movements, and now the news had come. The enemy was coming, and they were bringing everything they had. It started as a faint echo on the long-range sensors. A deep hum in the void. Then the first ships appeared, black as night. Their glowing lines burning like scars in the dark. Behind them came more and more still, until the screen on the Valiant's bridge was filled with hostile signatures. The largest raider armada anyone had ever seen had arrived. On the human side, there was no fear in the air. The captains of every ship listened to the Valiant's open channel. The fleet commander's voice was calm, steady. "Today, we end this," he said. "Today, we show them what happens when humans fight back." The raiders didn't waste time. On Talk, their front lines surged forward, weapons lighting up the dark. Plasma beams and missile trails streaked toward the human fleet. But the humans were ready. Shields flared to life across the formation. Alien energy absorbing the first wave, the fleet held position, letting the enemy come closer. Then the order came. Fire. The black of space erupted into light, alien forged. Plasma cannons, human railguns, and rapid intercept weapons roared together. The front line of raiders broke almost instantly, ships tearing apart under the concentrated barrage. But the armada behind them kept coming. The battle became a storm. Fighters weaved between larger ships, striking engines and weapons before darting away. Interceptors armed with the new rapid burst cannons shredded enemy wings. Human frigates moved in packs, cornering lone raiders and cutting them down. The Valiant drove straight toward the raider flagship. Her massive forward cannon charged, alien. Crystals glowing so bright they painted the bridge in blue light. The shot punched through the enemy's front shield like it was paper, sending explosions rippling down the length of the ship. Still, the raiders fought fiercely. One cruiser managed to slip past the front lines and fire on the medical carrier. The blast rocked the ship, but before the enemy could fire again, two human destroyers flanked it, hammering it until it broke apart all across the field. The human fleet moved like a living thing. Every maneuver was coordinated, every strike supported by another ship. What had once been scattered survivors was now an unstoppable wall of fire and steel. The raider flagship loomed ahead. Massive and bristling with weapons, it turned its guns on the Valiant, pouring fire into her shields. The deck shook under the impact. Warning lights flared red. Shields at 60%. A voice called out, but the commander didn't blink. "Hold course," he said. The Valiant closed the gap, her forward cannon fully charged. The order came down in a single word: fire. The beam tore through the flagship from bow to stern. The explosion lit the void brighter than any star. Pieces of burning metal drifted away. The sight broke the enemy's will. The remaining raider ships faltered, some trying to retreat, others scattering into the storms. The humans didn't chase. Every one the point had been made. The dead zone now belonged to them. Silence returned slowly, broken by the sound of crews cheering across the comms. On the Valiant's bridge, the commander stood tall, eyes fixed on the wreckage drifting. "In the dark, send the message," he said. The comm officer nodded. "To who?" she asked. The commander's voice was steady. "To everyone, tell them the humans are coming, and we don't stop." In the days that followed, the battle became legend. Stories of the fight spread far beyond the dead zone. Merchants whispered about a human fleet that used alien weapons better than the aliens themselves. Raiders who survived spoke in hushed voices about shields they couldn't break and guns they couldn't outrun. The humans didn't fade back into hiding. Instead, the fleet began to move. Not as prey, but as hunters. Every world that had once feared the raiders now saw a new light on the horizon, the glow of alien shields wrapped around human steel. The dead zone had given them scars, but it had also given them strength. And now, the galaxy would learn that strength the hard way.